are going to be in the sense that innovative. That's going to decide that our future. And when we talk about that topic, innovation, mostly many of us will be remembering two companies. Number one, Kodak, founded in 1880s, and they became giant in photography industries in 1970s, and then they were nowhere in around 2010. They were at the forefront in the photography industry, but they failed to reinvent, and the mobile replaced the camera. The other company is Nokia. So they revolutionized. The initial stage, they were the forerunner in terms of introducing mobile phones, but today they were nowhere in the industry. They were not able to manage the pace of changes that is taking place in technology. So hence this topic is the most relevant topic, and it is the innovation is the new norm of the businesses. Also, it's coming from accounting and finance background. Let me also talk about that connections between stock price movement and innovations. A group of Harvard Business School researchers, and they were wondering about the stock performance of some of the companies, but they were not posting a very good earnings. In spite of very less earnings, these companies' stock prices were doing much better. And these researchers have wondered, and then they were trying to identify what is the reason. And one common thing they found in all of these companies are they are the most innovative companies. And we also would have heard about a company called POSCO, a steel manufacturer in South Korea. At their main gate, they have inscribed a statement that resources are limited, creativity is unlimited. So, creativity and innovation are the imperative and need of the hour. So Nippon is also known for its innovative products, and they have a very strong R&D means department, and they are the forerunners in creating new technologies. And I was going through one of them. They are developing a technology called DTM. So it's our privilege to have Mr. Sharath with us, Mr. Sharath Malhotra, Senior Vice President, NIPSI Group, to talk on innovate to stay ahead. We welcome you, sir, and I welcome other participants as well to the session. With this, I would request Mr. Danteshwara Rao to introduce the guests.
Hi, a very pleasant morning to respected guest speaker, members of faculty and staff, and my dear fellow PGDM executive students. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, who is going to talk to us about Innovate to Stay Ahead. This is a subject in which we should all be deeply interested because there is always a better way. We just need to find it. Our speaker has founded NIPSIA Group Automotive Refinishes in 2014. He expanded business to 25 markets by end of 2019. He turned the business profitable in the second full year of operation, growing the business to $110 million in 2019. He has set up strategy, business plans, infrastructure, operations, and teams from scratch for NIPSIA Automotive Refinishes as well as for the startups in India, Indonesia, and Middle East. He has also many accomplishments in capturing markets in Thailand, Philippines, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. He introduced wood coatings business in India by having strategic alliance with Italian partners and refinishes business in Australia with an Australian partner. He is best known for business development, strategy, and competitive analysis. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Senior Vice President of NIPSIA Group, Sharath Malhotra.
Thank you, Dantu. Sir, it's over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Good morning, esteemed faculty members, students. It's an opportunity for me and a great pleasure for me to be here to join all of you for this guest lecture. As I was mentioning before, I'm not really used to doing these kind of guest lectures. So please take that into mind when you criticize me or when you think about this. So this is an opportunity for me, and I'm very grateful to IMT to give me this opportunity. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my own personal experiences, and I'm going to speak essentially from there. And I hope that my personal experiences will also be useful to the audience today to think about what opportunities lie ahead for them. The world is all about innovation, and without innovation, you cannot stay ahead. And I'm a firm believer in that. I think the challenge that this graduating class will also have is how is it like to graduate into a lockdown? This is an opportunity, or this is a big problem for all of you. Depends on how you look at it. Just telling you a little bit about myself. 1 second. Yeah, okay. So I'm Sharad Malhotra. I'm the Senior Vice President for the NIPSI Group. The NIPSI Group is what Nippon Paint is known outside Japan. I head a couple of businesses in India, and I'm also director on a few companies outside India. I come from a company called Nippon Paint. Nippon Paint is relatively unknown in India. It's still a very, very small player in India, but it is the world's fourth largest paint company. And it's also the #1 paint company in Asia. That is, we have a lot of different entities in Asia. If we put them all together under one corporate banner, then Nippon Paint actually becomes a company worth which has a turnover about $8 billion as of last year, and which makes us undisputably the fourth largest paint company in the world, #1 in Asia. And what is most interesting is that 90% of our business comes within Asia. So we are a regional player to a very large extent. And in spite of being a regional player, we are the largest paint company in Asia, and we are the fourth largest paint company in the world. So like any cricketer, whether it's Virat Kohli or Steve Smith, everybody, when you start anybody who starts a new innings starts with her score or his score at 0, in spite of having scored a century maybe in the previous game. So when we started our business in India, we also started from scratch. So I was appointed in the year 2010, and my objective was to set up an automotive refinish business, which is an automotive aftermarket business. And here I was sitting in a neighborhood barista coffee shop, which was actually my first office. And while sitting there, I thought about what kind of a company we want to set up in India. And I came up with a bold vision for the company to be innovative, to innovate, excel, and delight. So it was a little company with a big heart and a very grand design. One of the very unique things about Nippon Paint, or the NIPSI Group as we are known outside Japan, is that we allow 1,000 flowers to bloom. We as a company fully encourage what we call the Warlord Mentality in our teams. We want everyone in our company to think like the warlords. This mindset motivates people to think, act, and behave like owners of a company, and not just 9-to-5 employees. How we created a purposeful culture in which we motivate our employees, stroke owners, to push boundaries, to think and act differently, to be relentless with experimentation, and not just worry about ROI and the current month or the quarter's results, is something that makes me feel very proud. Truly, what we have created in Nippon Paint India Automotive Refinishes is a company of owners. Armed with this mindset, we developed our strategy to take on our competitors. It was classic David versus Goliath, a battle of unequals, a battle in which we had to choose between becoming another paint supplier, Me Too brand, or try something different. I don't know about you guys, but when I learned marketing, we were taught that there were only two ways to compete. Either you have to be a cost leader or you have to try and to be a differentiator. We chose the latter. So everything we did, from the day we started our little company in India till today, when I am very proudly supervising, setting up a host of countries which are a part of the Nippon Paint Group, everything that we do is based around creating that differentiation, bringing that spikiness to our business model, our USPs, and our approach to the market. So this is what has been pretty much a guiding principle for me throughout my journey for the last 10 years that I've been with Nippon. I was always brought up to believe that I could change the world. At least I think my job is to try and change the dynamics and the contours of my industry, which is my domain. Without rambling on too much about it, let me share a few examples to highlight how we have tried to change the game. How we move beyond differentiation to something that is more of a disruption of business as usual. First, we redefined the way we approached our business. As a typical paint company, we did not have the cheapest products. We found that most doors were closed to us. Our competitors made sure of that. Instead, we entered the market by introducing a non-paint products. Consumables that are an essential part of the accident repair process, but not really paint. Products that we were not manufacturing ourselves, but we actually selected products from the world's best suppliers. And these products did not only help us to penetrate the channels, but also ensured that we gained traction with the automobile OEMs that were and are still reluctant to open their doors to new paint suppliers. So what we actually created was a platform for some of the world's best suppliers of non-paint products to sell their products through our window under a different branding concept. This approach also created a new route to market strategy. I often say, and I'm very proud to say, that one of my biggest customers is Maruti Suzuki. But what is very exciting for us is that for Maruti Suzuki, we don't sell a single liter of paint. My entire business with Maruti Suzuki is for paint finishing products, which are a part of the consumable sector that we sell under the Maruti Genuine Accessories banner. Here we supply the products directly to Maruti, and they distribute it to their car dealers, their workshops, while we provide the technical and demand generation support. A brand new way of marketing our products in this market. Further, we became the first paint company to offer our car care products through the same Maruti Suzuki channel directly to the car owners. This means that for the first time, a so-called paint company is now marketing products directly to car owners through Maruti Suzuki's 1,000 plus sales and service points. A chance to engage with 15 lakh car owners on a monthly basis. So by adopting a strategy which was different from a typical paint company approach, we have now created a massive business and a mind-blowing opportunity where we can interact with 15 lakh car owners on a monthly basis. That's something which came out of sheer marketing innovation that we did. Next, we used our knowledge base of paints, especially our polyurethane paints, our ability to make color and to create color solutions, and our technical approach to launch a totally new segment for Nippon Paint in India, a business that we call our wood art business. We believe that painting on wood isn't just about covering the surface for the sake of protecting it and making it more durable, but about creating wonderful finishes that enhance the beauty and aesthetics that wood provides. Today, Wood Art by Nippon Paint is a reality, a passion and a commitment to provide the most outstanding finishes on wood using the wealth of products and knowledge of Nippon Paint. And for this business, we also have an international partner called IVM Chemicals from Italy. So together, what we have done, we haven't just introduced the largest and probably the best portfolio of wood coating products in India, which covers from a very low end product line to a very high end product line, but also changed the way consumers will look at wood and other substrates that they want to be coated. Whether by using metallic paints, which are famous in the automobile industry on wood, or launching something like anti-scratch coatings or even polyester finishes, which give you a kind of a lamination feel onto the wood, we have actually been able to disrupt the market. And this we have achieved not only through our products, but also our digital innovations, where our applications are there to work with our painting contractors, with the architects. The painting contractors can not only register their sites, but also make quotations to customers, develop their own photo libraries, and also create a medium through which they earn financial rewards from us. So it's a end-to-end engagement program, a loyalty program as well. So this came out of nowhere. Actually, what we did was we used our automotive paint knowledge to create a completely new segment and enter into a complete white space in India, a complete blue ocean strategy. So for a company that was actually, only known for the architectural coatings and the automotive OEM coatings, we actually had very little to show in terms of auto refinish or wood coatings. But today we have been able to create these two new businesses from nothing. And we are poised to become a world leader in some of these segments. I now head the automotive refinishes business for Nippon Paint on a global scale. And while we have a limited worldview at present, we have still expanded to about 25 markets, as was mentioned, mostly in Asia and the Middle East, and also in Australia. All on the basis of what we started as a small seed, a small idea in India. All this is based on the strength and the foundation of the same tireless, fearless, adventurous team that we created, the startup team that we created in India, has been able to achieve this journey, which started this journey with me from that barista coffee shop in 2011. Most of those guys are still working with us. Most of those guys are still owning their businesses, developing these opportunities with us. So everything that we do is on the power of our people. And we have been able to create India as the epicenter for all these developments. And based on that, we are now very confident that we have been able to create a new niche, a new product line, a new segment for Nippon Paint in India as well as outside India. There is a saying that when you stop to smell the roses, you get hit by a truck. So what that means is, whatever we have created till now, whatever we have done till now, whatever new world order we are talking about today, is all going to be worth nothing if we don't continue on our path of disruption, if we don't continue to innovate and re-innovate. So at the end of this whole 10 years of journey, what we have learned is you cannot stop to smell the roses. You have to continue on a relentless path of experimentation, of disruption, of innovation. Not everything we do will be successful. A lot of things that we will do will also lead to self-disruption. So you have to be very mindful of the fact that the marketing journey, the innovation journey is not a one-time journey. It's a daily cycle. It's a daily process. It's something that you have to do over and over again. So to do that, it's very important to have those kind of people, that kind of mindset, and also not to allow structure to imprison you. So we are not prisoners of structure. We believe that if we don't change and if we don't self-cannibalize ourselves, our competitors will do that for us. So for now, we have to keep on adopting and living the game changers mindset. As a team, we are very proud of the fact that we have actually changed the game in our sector. We have innovated, completely experimented, and created a lot of business models that have helped us to survive and thrive in the market today. But what now? What is the big question? The big question for us is, how do we make our company stay true to our mission? How to continue our evolution, but still remain committed to our core philosophy and our vision? How do we do that? As we grow, how do we overcome the predictable crisis of growth, and how do we continuously innovate without letting complacency and bureaucracy come in our way? One of the biggest problems every company goes through, and that's what makes some companies good and some companies great. As you grow, structure comes in. As you grow, complacency comes in. As you grow, bureaucracy comes in. You set up a lot of policies, you set up a lot of processes, and at the end of it, the magic formula that we had, or that a company has, when it starts its journey as a startup, you lose that. So the challenge is to make this journey a continuous journey, to make this change stick. Do we have the magic formula to make change stick? Unfortunately, we don't. So it's a daily struggle. It's a very difficult journey. But we have to keep on running that journey and running that on a daily basis. So the path that we have chosen for ourselves is very, very difficult. But it's deeply satisfying.
Yes, sir, I have seen.
Whenever you innovate, whenever you create something new from scratch, that feeling is unbelievable.
Yeah, I will write it, sir.
And that ability to create something is something which I think most managers today lack.
I will make it, and I will.
And I'm not specifically talking about IMT, but I think most management institutes
will
today,
and I will upload it. And I will.
For them, I think it's very, very important that they teach their students about this, and not just about becoming good managers, but becoming good innovators. Because if we don't innovate, we will die.
Promotion you need online.
So, relentless with our pursuit of excellence and consistent with our approach to continuously raise the bar in terms of coatings.
Yes, there is an online workshop.
From in-house color development, we've developed a lot of innovations in color. We've developed the latest color spectrophotometers to be deployed at our customers. We've developed the world's fastest paint systems. We've developed monocoats, which is a single layer paint system. It is never enough to be good. It is never enough to be good only for the present. You have to be constantly on the lookout for new technologies. You have to be constantly on the lookout for introducing new themes and concepts, and not saying no to any possibility. So you have to keep on looking for the possibilities to innovate, keep on looking for the possibilities to disrupt the market. And that's what makes the journey very satisfying and very exciting. So today, we are innovating to make our coatings easier to apply, faster to cure, compliant to European emission norms, and more durable. So all these innovations are constantly happening. But that's only one part of the story. All over the world, traditional business models are being disrupted. All over the world. You can see it happening around you. You are blessed to be in this age when things are changing so fast, when everything is disrupting and new opportunities are being created. So new innovations are gaining ground all the time. So what is really required are earth-shattering innovations in terms of technology, route to market, or the business model itself. Things that will change the way business is being done altogether. So that kind of transformation is what every industry is trying to go for. You know, the professor spoke about Kodak, and I truly believe that this is the paint industry's Kodak moment. We know what, we can see what is coming our way, but are we geared up to change tracks? Are we too vested with our past and present? Do we realize that we may be the losers in the future? You are students at a very good institute, and the professor spoke about Kodak. It was the first company to introduce, I'm sure a lot of people don't know. Kodak was actually the first company to introduce digital camera technology. Yet it remained rooted in its own film business because it did not want to disrupt its bread and butter business. And as a result of that, it got blown away by the disruption of digital, which itself it was a part of. So they were a part of the innovation, but they held the innovation back. They did not want to pursue it because they were worried about how that innovation is going to disrupt their own existing bread and butter business. So as a result, they were not able to change tracks. They were a good innovation company, but they did not have the power to take those big decisions that could have propelled them into the next era of growth and development and prosperity. But instead, they got blown away. They remained rooted in their existing business. Similarly, the other example that the professor spoke about is Nokia, a very fundamental story about innovation. Nokia once controlled 3/4 of the world's mobile telephony's margin pool. We talk about market share, we also talk about margin pool, which is what is the total margin available, contribution margin available to the industry, and how much of that margin pool are you controlling. A lot of companies, including ours, we don't always talk about market share, but about margin share. If in an industry which is worth, say, $1 billion, maybe the margin pool available there is $250,000. How much of that margin pool is available to you? How do you maximize the margin pool? Similarly, Nokia was actually controlling 3/4 of the mobile telephony's margin pool. And it was also one of the first companies to start working on the smartphone technologies. Again, a big surprise, like Kodak was one of the first companies to start on the digital technologies in cameras. Nokia was one of the first companies to start on the smartphone technologies, yet they did not innovate fast enough. And they let companies like Apple and Samsung change the game that they had themselves started. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is something that we all have to be aware of when you guys go back into the corporate world. I know you are all working, you've all worked with companies before, you've all had a fair share of work experience already. But it's when you guys get back into the corporate world, armed with a greater knowledge, education, experience of the course that you're doing at IMT, you guys have to think about your own Kodak moments in your own industries, in your own companies, in your own businesses. Because everybody should be self-aware of what the Kodak moment is. And at that moment, or even before that moment, how are you expected to perform? What is it that you should be doing is very, very critical. So for us, the Kodak moment is here. The choices are very simple. If you talk about the automotive aftermarket paint industry, we are actually at a Kodak moment today. If we believe that we are in the business of producing and marketing and selling automotive paint products, we are signing our own death warrant. It's true. improved driving habits, reduction in drunk driving, stronger compliances, better infrastructure. They are all bringing down accident rates all over the world. And a lot of people believe that accident rates are not dropping in India. Very surprisingly, all the data tells us that accident rates are dropping in India as well. And this is today's situation. And in India, the road infrastructure is getting better and better. The compliance standards are getting stronger and stronger. Drunk driving is reducing. I mean, drunk driving is actually a very big contributor to accidents. So when all these things happen, and if you're an automotive paint company and you're supplying paint to the aftermarket, and in the aftermarket accidents reduce, accidents stop happening, what happens then? And what happens in the future when driverless cars will come? When driverless cars will come, and I agree that driverless cars are still a long way off, maybe in India, but if you look at the world stage, driverless cars are not that far off. So when you have driverless cars, there are no accidents that are going to happen. The probability of accidents will reduce to a minuscule fraction of what they are today. So when we extend the business boundaries, when we extend the boundaries of our business, we get into wood coatings, we get into new markets like Australia, we also seek to reinvent ourselves. We cannot just be a paint supplier. We have to migrate to become a finishing expert. We have to think beyond paints. We aspire today as a Nippon paint. We still have paint in our brand, in our company name. We aspire to become a finishing expert. As a finishing expert, we want to be connected with process of providing complete solutions for washing, cleaning, painting, protecting, maintaining the most beautiful finishes. And not just cars, but the same concept of cleaning, washing, painting, protecting, maintaining applies on all surfaces that are coated. So our job in the future cannot be to be a paint supplier alone. So from product selling, we have to effortlessly migrate to becoming a total and fully integrated solutions provider to the car owner, offering her a basket of products and services, not necessarily everything that we produce. It could be a basket which includes our partners' products, our third-party outsourced products, our own manufactured products. But the business is no longer going to be just supplying paint. It's a complete life cycle of a surface like a car, and how do we get involved in different parts of the life cycle of the car, from cleaning products, painting products, protection, maintenance products, and not just products, but how do we offer services as well to the consumers? So from a B2B company, how do we become a company which is a consumer-facing company? So just as the world changes, we don't want to be deer caught in the headlights. You know how deer, when you travel in a forest on a road, you see a deer ahead, your flashlights, your headlights are on. The poor deer gets transfixed, cannot move, waits for the car to come and crush him. We cannot be that kind of deer. We cannot be sitting ducks waiting for the disruption to take the business away from us. We cannot be imitators. We have to be innovators. And this doesn't apply only to Nippon Paint. This applies to every industry that you guys are going to be a part of. India may have favorable demographics. We have increased spending power. But the money that the customer spends would not necessarily come into our pockets. And that's something you guys, everybody should understand. unless we continuously and tirelessly innovate and re-innovate ourselves, we cannot expect the consumer to pay for our products and services. I'm now going to quote Travis Kalanick, a very controversial guy, the guy who started Uber, the erstwhile CEO of Uber. And he said, you cannot win 51 to 49. You have to win 98 to 2. So you have to aim for world domination, my friends. And for world domination, you have to think about what is it that you need to do to innovate, to excel, and to delight your customers. And that's my life story, and that's my journey till now. Moving on, the next part of my lecture, my discussion, is again to come back to the same thing and asking you a few questions. You've heard my life story. You've heard my last 10 years at Nippon Paint, what we have done, how we have created disruption, how we have tried to change the game. How do you guys think about innovation to stay ahead? And what is it like to graduate into a lockdown? You guys are, I presume, going to graduate soon. The economic conditions are not great. We have a lockdown across the country. What is it that you guys are expecting to do? There's complete chaos here. But if you guys have heard of Sun Tzu, Sun Tzu was a Chinese general. He was a military strategist, writer, and philosopher in ancient China. A very famous guy. Sun Tzu is traditionally credited with the famous Art of War, a very influential work on military strategy. And that strategy work, that ancient work, has actually influenced both Western and Asian philosophies and military thinking. And one of the most famous quotes by Sun Tzu is, in the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. So today, as the world faces chaos, thanks to the COVID-19 situation, everybody has to think about what are the opportunities ahead as well. Because in the new world order that is coming in, there are going to be opportunities as well. Historically, the world has always seen that a slowdown creates an opportunity for businesses to innovate. And there are so many examples in the world, in the history today, whether it was banking failures in the US, or the dot-com bubble, or the subprime mortgage crisis in 2008. All these crises, every crisis has created opportunities. If you look at the dot-com bubble, the NASDAQ stock market index fell 78% from its peak by October 2002, giving up all the gains that it had made in the bubble. Yet, many companies were able to endure that crash, and 48% of dot-com companies survived even after the crash. And in fact, the dot-com bubble led to the formalization of venture capital and investment in the IT space. And similarly, the subprime crisis in the US led to innovation in real estate borrowing. So every slowdown, every business disruption gives you an opportunity to innovate. If you look at today, the situation is also this is a very difficult moment, a very, strange moment in history. The coronavirus has completely disrupted how the movement of people happens. The macroeconomic scenario is completely distraught. If you look at the latest forecasts, today Moody says that India is going to grow at 0.1 or 0.2%. Probably that is also being optimistic. The coronavirus has also changed the way digital connectivity is seen. So these are some of the changes around us today. Everything is changing. You cannot move out of your homes. The economy is on the verge of collapse. Digital connectivity is so important today. So all these changes that are facing us are also affecting the way we have to behave and we have to do things in the future. Yeah. So these changes also affect the countries. What's going to happen in China? In China, the growth will decline. There is an ongoing trade war with the US, but China is looking beyond all that. They're looking at buyout opportunities in the developed world. They're looking at investing in the third world. If you look at the European Union, they're also struggling. They're struggling with growth. They're struggling with M&A. Britain is moving out of the European Union. In this situation, even Europe is struggling. So they also have to relook at a lot of things. And look at the US. The US, which was led by Mr. Trump, which was boasting about the strongest growth in their economy, is now distraught. They have lost all the jobs that they had created in the last so many years, ever since the subprime crisis. There's no major war. The oil-backed economy is collapsing. So every country is now faced with this crisis and this situation. And every young leader, every young person today, whether working or whether studying, has to think about this world and think about what they're going to do and what kind of opportunities they need to look at. So my point that I'm trying to make here is, my personal experience tells me that opportunities will continue, innovations will continue, but everybody has to think differently. Whichever industry you're a part of, whether it's pharmaceuticals, automobiles, agriculture, FMCG, electronics, every industry is now going to disrupt, is going to change the way things happen. And you guys are going to be at the forefront of that because you are entering the corporate world at this pivotal moment. So use your knowledge, use your ability to innovate and move ahead and take your companies forward and take your businesses forward. For us, the journey will continue. We are now looking at Corona situation and we're looking at building technologies, new technologies, which can help us to continue to forge ahead. We will continue to build our partnerships and expand our markets. We are now looking at getting even closer with our customers and evolving as paint process specialists. We're offering ancillaries and non-paint products. We're getting outside our own R&D centers and doing global technology tie-ups. And we're also getting into simpler solutions for DIY because today, in the Corona situation, a lot of things will change to DIY. People are not going to, a lot of us, including myself, we are actually now doing a lot of things at our home, which we've never done before. So this is going to be the era for DIY as well. So for a paint company, or a solutions company which is giving augmented finishing solutions in the market, we have to also create simpler solutions for DIY. So for us, we have used this lockdown period to think about innovation and think about our future direction of innovation and look at what we are going to do in the future. And I trust that you guys will be doing that as well. We're also in our business looking at new trends. We want to become partners of aggregators. Even in our industry, even though you haven't heard of it or seen it much, but aggregation is going to come. Instead of, like you call Uber or an urban clap, we would expect you to call Nippon Paint or some of our partners to give your car a makeover. Come pick up my car, take it away, paint it, drop it back. You've never done that with a paint company before, but we're going to create those opportunities for you to do that. We're going to look at the second-hand car market very seriously because the new car market is extremely disrupted. So how are we going to partner people who are strong in the second-hand car market? one of the biggest crises that the world is facing, which is currently, this year it has taken a backseat, is water resource conservation. Water is drying up. We all know that. So what can we do to create cleaning products, which don't require water? For example, if you send your car to a service center, they will normally wash your cars taking minimum 200 liters of water. Can we create products which can wash a car with just 500 ml of water, half a liter of water, or even less than that? How can we help the world, and how can we help our partners and our customers to conserve water? How are we going to create our new retail concepts will also change. How do we operationally create innovations will also change. And one of the biggest topics, of course, today is about fighting microbial spread. So we as a paint company, we as an automotive aftermarket solutions company are looking at solutions to fight or to make your car germ-free. Now, these are all things happening as we speak. We have people in the company who unfortunately are today stuck at homes, but we are trying to make sure that everybody is using his time or her time in the best possible way to focus on the emerging opportunities that are created in the post-corona world. And that's what everybody has to do. Keep on innovating, to keep on developing their thoughts and actions in line, in sync with what is happening in the world, and to think ahead and to ideate and to plan for the future that is coming our way. So while we are locked down at home, we can't let our vision get locked down. Some of the tips for me from my side for the graduating class: understand all the sectors and opportunities that are there in front of you. Seek challenges. Don't be happy to just do a 9 to 5 job in a very safe environment, because those are the jobs that will get disrupted the first. Look for challenging work. Look for new opportunities where you would be, working in a different area or creating something altogether different. Do network with people and businesses, because networking gives you a lot of insights into what is happening in the world today. Today, the session that we are doing is also a networking session where I'm trying to pass on some of my knowledge, some of my experiences with you. Prepare to step out of your comfort zone. You may have been doing a certain line of work before you came to IMT. When you leave IMT, don't just get back to the same field. Step out of your comfort zone. Do something different, something that will help you to survive and to thrive in the world today. Sharpen your skills. The requirement of skills is changing drastically. I think to some extent, the government is trying to catch up with the Skill India mission. But frankly speaking, in the world today, the skills that were relevant 5 years ago are not relevant anymore. So you have to look at those skills that are really relevant today in the world and are going to be relevant in the future, and try and develop those skills. Start your own ownership experience. Ownership doesn't mean that you have to start your own business. Of course, you should think about starting your own business, your own startups as well. But ownership experience can also come when working with companies like Nippon. And there are so many of us and so many companies which are looking for people who take that ownership, who are keen to carry that load and to build the business like their own. And also, very importantly, in this world today, even though we have to practice social distancing, but it's very important that you create a very close-knit team, because a strong team will carry you forward. And that's something that I have learned in my entire career, especially in the last 10 years of my journey in Nippon Paint. Because eventually the strength of the wolves is the pack, and the strength of the pack is the wolf. It's one for all for one. The team has to stick together, create those challenges, not get affected or disturbed by the confines of standard bureaucratic approaches, but look at sticking together, creating those wonderful, innovative solutions. Whether you're working on the technology side, whether you're working on the marketing side, or in any part of the business that you're working in, create those important, aggressive changes. So while we stay inside the house, we have to think outside the box. This is our mascot. We call it the Blobby. So Blobby is our buddy, and we run this program internally about every day we coming up with innovative messages for our team. Stay safe, but stay connected. Think outside the box. Your family and country needs you to think outside the box. Because at the end of the day, whatever disruptions you create, whatever startups you get, you start off, you create, or you join, they are going to create that future technologies, the future business models that brings prosperity to the whole country. Your family and country really needs you to do that. So heroes, unite for taking our country to safety and success. Together we are stronger. The younger generation makes us feel more optimistic about the world we live in. We hope that you don't make the same mistakes we did. We hope that you will actually work to create a more safe and a more successful India as you move on in the world. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. These are tough times, but I strongly believe that in these tough times, the tough people will survive, and every adversity will carry with it a seed of an equivalent or a greater benefit. So keep on innovating, keep on thinking, keep on relentlessly experimenting, and I'm sure that all of you will become great innovators, and I'm sure all of you would excel in whatever you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was wonderful delivery, and you have narrated Nippon's story very well. So being inside, you explained us how to stay ahead by innovating products. Now we'll move on to question and answer session. I would request first PGDM executive students to raise questions if you have. Then we'll move on to faculty members for question and answer sessions. Executive students, if you have any questions, please turn on your video and raise your hand, and then you can post questions.
Hi, Divesh here, Sarad. During your session, you have mentioned about the employees' ownership within your organization, within the organization and outside your organization, within your channel partner. So, I mean, if you could just elaborate a little, I mean, how that system works and how it is, good for the organizations like Nippon, and that can be replicated in other organizations as well.
Well, I don't really have a magic mantra for that. I think it comes from your own personal and motivation, and how you're able to connect with your teams and create that feeling of ownership. I think it's about empowering teams. In our company, we call it the EQ approach. The EQ stands for enrich, engage, and empower. So from our perspective, we have to make sure that everybody, whether it's our own employees, our partners, our business partners, channel partners, vendors, feel enriched to be a part of this journey. We try our best to keep a very high level of engagement with everyone. So very close communication, very strong connect. And finally, we give them a lot of empowerment. This empowerment is not just, about giving people the authority to sign a check or to do something, take a decision, but actually giving them a feeling that they are the owners of the business. They are the CEOs of their business. Even a sales officer working in a remote part of India is given that feeling and that power to take decisions, so for example, we have a sales guy working in a particular, maybe in Telangana or in Andhra. He has the power. He may be working in 3 districts or 2 districts. He's like the CEO of those districts. So he's given that kind of authority and that kind of empowerment, which helps him to take those decisions. So it's a lot about how you communicate and how you build that spirit in the team. Further on, what we have done is we have actually created our own, what we call the Nippon Nation community. And you would be surprised at the kind of results we get. 70 to 80% of our hirings happen through our employee referrals. So that is the power of this community that we create. We do have attrition, but people who leave us, a lot of them join us back. And we welcome them back. So whenever a valuable person is leaving our company, we actually tell him, the doors are always open. We want you back because you know our company really well. You've done really well with us. You are a high productive person. You're a person who's well versed with our company. So please come back. And you would be very surprised to know that a lot of our employees come back. So that further creates that motivation and that spirit. As we speak, a couple of examples I would like to share with you. I mean, if it's okay.
Sure.
We have our employees have created a trust which we call the N Square Trust. It's an employee-run trust. It's got nothing to do with Nippon Paint. It's an employee-run trust. And in the last 20 days, this employee trust has raised over 10 lakh rupees, which has been given away to the painter community. People who are working as painters in workshops, the chotus and the ustads working in small workshops all over India are the guys who we have just collected money from our employees and passed on to them. What does that tell you? Everybody in the employee feels that we have to take care of our ecosystem. And this feeling helps us to create a very strong ownership. So this is how we have done it. Even with our channel partners, our vendors, we have created that spirit. And those guys also feel very connected. And, even in these tough times, they stand by us. Another example is as we speak right now, today is 29th of the month. Tomorrow is the 30th, which is a salary day, right? In most companies. Yep. Today, my employees, not my HR department, my employees are running a campaign. They know the company is in trouble, the company is incurring losses, right? So they're running a campaign on how they can work with the company to to reduce those losses. So there's a complete program being run by my Nippon Nation community. So these are just some amazing stories that we have in our company, and it's just brilliant. It's just so powerful and so inspirational. Every day I feel I'm so blessed to be a part of this. I hope that answered your question.
Hi, sir. My name is Dantu, and I have like 2 or 3 questions, if you don't mind. And the important question is like when I looked at your LinkedIn profile, most of them said you are a good business strategist and you have good business plans. So for that, can you give us any 2 pointers or anything which you want to say? Because I'm sure that you have a lot of information, but any 2 points which I can take away?
Well, I think the core essence of what I do is innovation. And I truly believe that no strategy can be made without innovation. So if you talk about my own personal experiences, one of my last slides, I spoke about 2 new innovations that we are working on, which is about waterless washing and about making your car germ-free. So these are 2 very big ideas that we are working on. There are small players which are also working on that, but they wouldn't have the muscle and the capability to actually develop these solutions. I mean, a lot of them would be just getting into this space to just make some quick money and go away. So these are some of the innovations that we are doing, and for those innovations, we're actually developing these very strong strategies which can help us to, to expand our. Sorry, I have to stop sharing the screen, right?
Yes.
Is my screen still visible?
No.
Okay. So the strategies essentially start from the vision. The vision essentially comes from the innovative mind. And once you have a vision or a thought process, you actually build a team to develop a strategy. And the strategies are then tested,
3, 4,
debated,
30
challenged,
30 గానే ఎక్కువ రావాలి.
relentlessly, thought through, and then implemented.
Shake.
So, if you ask me, do I have a magic formula for designing beautiful strategies? I don't, frankly.
1, 2,
But what I have done effectively is create that feeling of empowerment and ownership, which helps people to develop their own strategies. And then we test them.
3, 4,
And we test 10 strategies, we implement 5, and 3 work. And that's the way it is. A lot of things don't work out. So
Correct.
the thing is not to, first is go with your gut feel, develop an innovative strategy, discuss it with your team, challenge it thoroughly, look at which ones you want to test out in the market, test them out, and then implement the ones which you think are going to work. That's the usual funnel that we follow. I hope that answers your question to some extent.
Yeah. So thank you. And next one is what attitude should like a graduate like me should take to a company? Like I would be having my past like that 10-15 years of experience. I work from an organization, and that baggage will be carry forward with me. But when I move into the new company or any organization, I know that same innovation I have to do, same work culture I have to follow. What kind of attitude should I be with so as to I can unlearn and relearn things? So it's very very I want to be free out of the things which I have already seen. I want to learn new things. So it's very difficult to unlearn. Actually, I am feeling that kind of a pressure. So
I think unlearning is difficult, but I think you're in IMT Hyderabad for that process itself. Because
yeah,
if you spend time with your colleagues at IMT, you would have actually got a chance to look at different ideas and different thoughts. And again, unlearning is a process which everybody has to look at in his own or her own particular way. But definitely, the word you use, baggage is something which can be really harmful. So you have to see how you're going to drop that baggage. So in terms of attitude, just be very free, just be very carefree, just be very open-minded. I think unless you're open-minded, you can never be rid of the baggage. So that's all I would like to say. I mean, if you go with a particular mindset, then you're going to be in trouble, my friend. So
okay,
don't go with a mindset. I know it's
yeah,
easier said than done, but the fact that you've chosen to be a part of this great program at IMT tells me that you're very keen to change yourself and to change your mindset. And I'm sure you would be successful in that.
thank you. And final question, I think I should stop with that. The books which you recommend, because I saw you are your interests are reading books. There is one author, Bernie, I think from Harvard University, whom you follow. I read her book, The Gift of Imperfections, earlier, so I just got connected there. So I thought, what are the 2 books or 3 books which you would recommend for improving myself, not in the business sense, but in terms of a personal development?
Well, a lot of books are there. I really feel that you should have your own journey. So I don't want to influence you or tell you that read this book and this is going to help you change your life. So I think important thing is to read a lot. I think very important to read a lot and read a lot of different authors and look at what you can get out of that. I think a lot of different publications are there, much more than what we had when I was doing my MBA. So um, there's no particular management book or a particular book that I feel you should read, frankly speaking. There are books which have really influenced me in the past, but I don't think I should expect everybody to have the same journey as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
But you reach out to me individually and we'll discuss.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Any other question from PGDM executive students?
Yeah, this is Mridul. Hi, Sharad.
Nippon.
Firstly, thank you for taking out time and addressing the gathering, and lot of insights from your experience. The question that I have is, when do you think India will bounce back to recovery? Not from, I mean, not just from an economic perspective, but from all perspectives. And the other question I have is, do you think India has the capability to, meet the target of being a $5 trillion economy?
Okay, two politically loaded questions. Actually, I'm a very political guy, so I have to be very careful because I think you're going to look at some of these. I think India has tremendous opportunity in terms of a country, in terms of our demographics. You guys all know that we have one of the youngest populations in the world. I think our population is one of our biggest assets, in spite of whatever most people think. It's really about how we can harness that. So, when you talk about bounce back, from a Nippon Paint perspective, I can tell you that we're going to bounce back really fast because we are already thinking about the future and developing those products and solutions that can help us to bounce back faster. As a country or an economy, things are generally tougher. So I think we have to trust our government and trust our economists, and and hope that they can create at least a level playing field or a situation where we can all perform. But at the same time, the government can only do only a little part of the work. So what is really important, Mridul, is that we all create those new opportunities and develop those opportunities. So frankly, it's the younger people in the country who have to decide how fast we can bounce back, and not me and not the government. But I think personally, if you ask me, I think India has the capability of bouncing back really quick. I think the last few years, the economic policies have been a bit, I would say, not as thought through, in my opinion. I think the intent was always very good. So personally, I feel that the government is also going to learn a lot from this crisis, and they're already getting things ready in terms of the economic packages. The bounce back will depend on our resilience and our innovation more than anything else, Mridul. The second question about the 5 trillion economy, yes, I think that's a big question. Whether we can do it in the next 5 years or not is a very big question mark. At this moment, I think very challenging. But I think the kind of country we are and the kind of country we are becoming, we will definitely be a 5 trillion economy. Whether we do it in 5 years or 7 years, that's the only question. And I think with the kind of talent we have, the kind of people we have living in our country, the kind of brain power we have, I think we're going to be there. So I'm very optimistic about the future, and not just optimistic, but also looking at the future and looking at contributing to take India to that level.
Great, Sharad. And one last question. You've already touched briefly about water conservation that your company is looking at. So there's a lot of debate going on around. I mean, not just from companies, but governments also involved. I mean, we can take an example of the World Economic Forum last year in Davos. So a lot of questions raised on climate control, carbon reduction, carbon emission reduction. So what is Nippon doing, or how is Nippon involved in climate control, or maybe carbon reduction?
Well, as a company, our biggest, as a paint company, which is a chemical company, we have to be extremely responsible about how we affect the climate and the environment. So all throughout our efforts are to take the paint industry forward into using more sustainable materials, into using chemicals that are less harmful or not harmful for the industry. So just to give you an example, if you know about a little bit about automobile paints, they're all solvent-based paints, so they all need to add thinner. So we want to be actually innovating in that field as well as in the wood coating field by introducing water-based products. So on one hand, yes, water conservation is a big topic, but this is not about using thousands of liters of water. This is about using a little bit of water instead of solvent to create a lesser environmental impact in terms of volatile organic compounds. So various steps that we are doing in terms of taking the paint industry forward in terms of using less harmful chemicals, more sustainable materials, and taking the industry from a solvent-based to a water-based industry. So these are some of the things we're doing. Besides, as a social citizen, we are doing a lot of things to contribute to the societies in terms of sustainability, in terms of climate change as well. So a lot of things in different countries, particularly in markets like China, where we are very, very big. So we're doing a lot of things around climate change.
And thanks, Sharadhan. And one last question. I mean, you mentioned about China. So was there any supply chain disruption because of the COVID, which started in China for Nippon? Because Nippon, I think, is majorly spread in Asia. So any disruptions? And the second part is, how is digitization playing a role in the evolvement of Nippon?
In the evolvement of
your company. How is digitization? Is digitization one of these strategic areas of Nippon?
So I'll answer both the questions. So on the supply chain side, yes, the Chinese economy and the lockdowns in China did affect our supply chains. I think it's affected everybody's supply chains, but in our case, the biggest issue was not the supply chain, but China is a big market for us. So of course, in China, in the first quarter of this year was absolutely, not, the economy was actually stopped almost. So that affected our business substantially, of course. On the supply chain side, yes, there has been an impact, but in the paint industry, there are enough alternate suppliers. So we're not overly dependent on Chinese suppliers. So to that extent, we're not that affected. Of course, the disruption could have actually happened in this quarter, April to June. But because in this quarter there's no economic activity, so we can't really see the disruption in the supply chain panning out as such. On the digitization side, I don't think it's a tool at all. I don't think it is a tool anymore at all, because I think digitization is now core to our company and every company. So, right from our internal processes to our field force, to our customers, to our customers, to our vendors, everything is digitized and moving towards increasing levels of digitization. So it's a very strong component of our business. We don't even look at it as one of the tools anymore. It is something that has to be. It's integral. It's the core.
Thank you, Sharad. Thanks for answering all the questions.
Thanks, Mithil.
So we'll take one final question from PGM executive students, and then we'll move on to questions from faculty members. Is there any question from PGM executive students?
Sir,
one final question. Yeah. Divesh, let us give opportunity to others.
Sure.
Hi, sir. I'm Pratyusha. My question is, how does innovation works? I mean, sometimes you don't, have to always take these innovative thoughts to make decision making, and you always can't afford to have innovative thoughts, and sometimes you just stick to the normal strategic plans that your company follows. So how does you take those thoughts?
So we first, articulate and create a culture which is where we encourage a lot of innovation. As a team, as a company, we are very open-minded. We look at every member of the team contributing and giving ideas, which can be all looked at very seriously, and then it's not a very top-down kind of an approach. So while most of the things we do are not innovative, right? It's 80-90% of stuff you do is regular stuff that you do on a daily basis. But we do create a very strong communication and a very strong bottom-up creation idea flow. And do we have organized channels for doing that? We do to some extent, but mostly it is happening organically, and mostly it is happening, without any structure as such, Pratisha. So really have a standard funnel or a particular structure to this whole innovation.
Okay. And one more question, sir. How does, after this lockdown, how does the Indian market grows digitally? How does Indian market evolve digitally? How do you think?
I think the market
Online
is
market.
already evolving digitally in a tremendous way. So I think with social distancing and more curbs on physical people, a lot of things are now going to be done digitally. I mean, if you look at meetings, like today we're meeting over this video conferencing facility. A week ago, I did an international conference using Zoom, which was attended by people from 24, 25 countries. And, over different time zones. We had people from Australia and people in Europe. So we had to actually fit it all in such a way that it's not too early and not too late for people in the extreme time zones. So, I mean, I don't think I'm going to ever travel only for meetings anymore. As a company, we were burning so much cash traveling all over the world just to do meetings. So, I mean, this is just one example. We're doing innovation workshops on digitally. We're doing HR workshops digitally. We're doing soft skill trainings digitally. We're doing Excel training for our frontline people digitally. We're doing safety trainings digitally. And this is all internal. And if you look at external, I think
And this is working equally well with physical, like the physical, meetings as well, sir.
I think it's working better. I'll tell you what, when you have physical meetings, then a lot of things get, I'll tell you what, when in my personal experience, maybe my experience is not something that everybody can agree with, but in my personal experience, physical meetings involve a lot of people traveling, a lot of time getting wasted in travel, and then a lot of discussions getting disrupted because one topic gets further debated and debated. I think when you have video conferencing, you have set agendas, set time frames. People can come on time, leave on time. So we're having far more effective meetings, Isha, than we've done, frankly speaking, in the real physical world. So from that perspective, digitization is working. And as a company, we're looking at expanding our footprint on the e-commerce side as well. So we're looking at how we can actually evolve and develop our digital business. So with vendors, we are connecting more and more on our extranet, not by sending physical purchase orders and quotations and things like that. Everything is digital. We're doing balance reconfirmation with our customers digitally. So Dr. Sharad Babu, who's a finance and accounting guy, would tell you how important it is to do vendor reconciliations and debtor reconciliations. We could never imagine doing a dealer reconciliation online. So we've now developed a tool so the guy gets it on his phone. He looks at his balance and confirms it. Otherwise, the sales guy would have to go with take a printout of maybe 40, 50 pages, take it to the dealer, ask him to, go one by one. Then the dealer will say, okay, come back after the week. I'll show it to my chartered accountant. So, all that time is getting saved today. So while the interesting or the glamorous part is the e-commerce part, but everything now is changing by digitization. The entire processes are changing. Those are replacing papers. Internal workflows are being developed for everything, reimbursements to performance management to purchase orders, everything. Everything is digital.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now we'll move on to question and answer session from faculty members. Please, faculty members, if you have any questions, please turn on your video and raise questions.
Yeah, Mr. Sharad.
Yeah, Professor.
Yeah. So I have a question. See, you are an entrepreneur, and lot of our students, even this batch and even other batches would like to take up entrepreneurship. Now, my question is, what do you feel? Are entrepreneurs born or can they be created?
Oh, I should have thought. So I think you can create entrepreneurs as well. And if you cannot create entrepreneurs, then I think all of you guys are going to go out of business. So let me say that while definitely some people are born with a streak of innovation and being entrepreneurs by themselves, a lot of entrepreneurs can be created as well. I don't know. Frankly speaking, when I was in school or college, I never thought I'm going to be founding companies and setting up global businesses. I think I was always very excited to just be myself, not think too far ahead. I don't think I was a born entrepreneur at all. So I think my experiences, my learnings, and most importantly, meeting the right people at the right time, that influences you a lot. And that's what I think you guys as the faculty are doing an amazing job, because when you give your experiences and share your knowledge with students, I think you can definitely create entrepreneurs.
Professor Nitin has some question.
Hello, sir. I am Professor Nitin Gupta. I teach marketing at IMT Hyderabad. It was a real pleasure to listen to you, and thank you for a very informative session. My question from you is that a lot of firms are leaving China, and indeed, Japan has given a huge amount of money. Indeed, I believe it's 2.2 billion to encourage Japanese firms to leave from China and move to other parts of the world. So the 2 points of my question are, first and foremost, what will be the repercussion of this strategy on your firm? And secondly, how well do you think is the Indian infrastructure ready to attract such firms to India?
Okay, thank you, Professor Nitin. Interesting questions. So as a company, almost 50% of our revenues come from China. Nippon Paint's global revenue, 50% approximately comes from China. So it's a very huge market for us. So at this moment, I think as a company, we are just watching the situation. I don't think we are going to be too heavily affected by the Japanese saying. Yet we have to watch out and see what exactly is the implication of what Prime Minister Abe said. But at this moment, we've been in China since 1991. So we see ourselves as an insider there. We are strongly present there. We are a super brand there, in fact, in China. So we don't see ourselves exiting China at all at this moment. As far as ability of India to attract the global multinational companies, so that's something which has been debated for the last 30 odd years, ever since India started the journey in 1991 to liberalize the economy. I think we've made a lot of progress, but frankly speaking, we are lacking in so many different ways. So if you look at the factors of bringing industry to India, typical factors what we learned in school and college were land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurs. So basic factors of bringing industry, I think we are lacking somewhere or the other. Whether it's in terms of land, I think we need to do those land reforms, which makes it easier for companies to buy land, to acquire land, to develop land, also to make land more affordable and infrastructure better available. For example, certain number of dollars, you can buy probably much better quality of land in other countries than you can buy in India. India, the land prices are not cheap, but the quality of land and the infrastructure you get is not that up to the mark. Similarly, in terms of labor, I think we believe we are a low-cost labor country, but I don't think that is true anymore. So fundamentally, we have to look at developing those skill-based industries, not just the cheap industries. We have the right entrepreneurial capabilities in our country. We have probably the brightest minds in the world. So that is, I think, there. But in terms of land, labor, and infrastructure, and also capital availability, and the cost of capital, long way to go. I think the government is trying to do something about it. I hope it succeeds. This moment, because people are in a rush to leave China, so we may attract some companies, but for that trickle to become a flood, I think a long, long way to go in terms of our. So we have to be more developing our own industries and our own companies and focus more on our own talent to, more than ever.
Thank you for the answer.
Thanks.
Yeah, Professor Vinay.
Yeah, Professor.
Hello, sir. It was great listening to you. I am Professor Vinay Kalakbandi. I teach operations, but my question is on innovation management. So you said you innovate quite aggressively. I want to know how you manage failure. So out of 10, say two succeed, 8 fail. Is there any? How do you apportion the responsibility of the failure, and how do you manage the failure?
So, Professor Vinay, just to correct you, out of 10, 8 fail usually.
Yeah.
2 succeed.
So,
yeah. So I think what we try and do successfully is we don't whatever innovations we are driving, we commit to them. We also create that fearlessness in the minds of the people who are running those innovations, so that they don't feel that they have to conform and they should be safe. So we give them that safety net so that they don't feel as if this is going to help, this is going to take away their jobs if they fail. So that is one very critical part, to create that safety net for the person who is driving that innovation and that strategy. The second part is our ability to drive that innovation, because a lot of innovations fail because they're poorly executed. So the important thing is to build not a process for innovation, but a process to ensure that innovation succeeds. So that is done through systematic approach and planning and monitoring of how the project is moving forward and when to actually commercialize it or when to pull the plug. So those are critical decisions which have to be taken at the right time. Because if you don't take those decisions at the right time, you may actually put to market innovation that would fail and burn a big hole in your profits. So I think it's a fine line. I think the important thing is that we have ingrained that feeling in everybody's mind that they should innovate and they should come up with ideas and we should drive this hard. At the same time, our ability to make sure that we don't market something that is not well thought through is our key success factor.
Yeah. So a follow-up question. So sometime back you said that your innovation is organic and you don't have a funnel, so to speak. Right?
Yeah.
But then you also are now saying that there is a system in place to evaluate how the implementation of an innovation is going.
Yes.
So it's a thin line of balance where while things are organic, things are unstructured at one end and they are structured at the other end.
So I think that's the fine balance, Professor Vinay.
Sir,
you need to have a structure to ensure effective execution of a plan and of a strategy. You cannot leave that to chance.
Okay.
Of course, it can still fail, even if you put a process to it. But we don't regimentize innovation as such. So
Yeah.
on one side, we are allowing those things to come up, organically, those ideas and those constant business models to be shared with us organically. At the same time, whatever we are putting as a focus area for innovation, we try and build a process to ensure that once it's put in a plan, it should fail. It should not fail. So that's a fine balance, really. That's what management and entrepreneurship is all about. I think.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll take up one last question from faculty side. Any other question?
Hello, Anna. Anna, Chipana. బాగున్నానన్నా మీరు ఎలా ఉన్నారు
Hello,
Hi.
I'm faculty here at IIT Hyderabad. So when we do research as a academician, sometimes it happens that what industry actually requires and our research is some disconnect about it. So being in industry, can you get some insights? What are the prospective areas industry is looking into in research can contribute in some way so far as supply chain is concerned?
I'm sorry, your voice was not very clear, Mr. Arun. You said you're talking about research if you can just repeat.
In the field of supply chain management,
Right.
what are the prospective research areas so far as your industry is concerned?
I think the biggest is IoT and AI. So I think those are areas that we are looking at very seriously and researching on those areas very seriously. So it's more about digitizing supply chains, whether it's in terms of looking at the customer side of things or the vendor side of things. So that's what we are really working on today, on the supply chain side. So for example, also looking at from a customer viewpoint, how do we make sure that the customer's requirement is intuitively understood by our system and goes into the material resource planning process, and we are actually able to reduce the cycle or the turnaround time to provide the customer what he wants, and how do we use technology to achieve that. I think that is what we're working on this side.
Thank you.
That's a big area for us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And already we are running out of time. Thank you for accommodating us, Mr. Sarath. Now I would request Divesh to propose vote of thanks.
First of all, I wanted to say, Mr. Sarath, that on the caution you have given us in the beginning of your session, that your inexperience of delivering such seminars. So that is something which I think we should do more often now, because there was the seminar went very flawless.
Thank you so much.
Having said that, I would like to give my sincere thanks to respected director sir, our most valued guest speaker, esteemed members of faculty, staff, and my dear fellow PGDM executive students. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks today to Mr. Sarath. Mr. Sarath, we thank you for being with us at this time of global crisis. I'm sure for all of us, it has been a garnering experience. We have a lot of takeaways from this experiential session. We thank you once again for giving us your valuable time on a weekday, especially in the morning hours. We also hope to meet you very soon in person. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Divesh, and thank you, Professor Sarath Babu, and all the faculty members and the professors and the deans of the IMT Hyderabad. It was a pleasure for me. I hope I've been, I wasn't, it was relevant. I hope my experiences would spark a few ideas in people's minds. And I wish you all the power and all the success in the future. Meeting you guys in person as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.